Here we are, Training Tuesday. Hello, my loves. Okay, I have one more recording button to hit. Here we are, Training Tuesday. Hello, hello. I'm so happy to be here. I'm guessing that a lot of you are celebrating, if you're in the US, I'm guessing that a lot of you are celebrating your holiday, your day off, which is beautiful. So enjoy. We don't always take days off, and so enjoy that. And I thought this would be a perfect time for me to come in and just riff a little bit, and then you guys can come back and check this on the replay. So if you're joining me live today, awesome. I'm always happy to have you. And if you're on the replay, that's also super terrific. If you've not been here before, welcome. Welcome. My name is Gina Schatz. I am the developer of the Schatz method. I'm here on Tuesdays every week to support manual and movement practitioners to be excellent. And then even more excellent and more excellent. So we talk functional anatomy, we talk client work, we talk case studies, we talk how to find the genesis of the root cause of pain. We talk all kinds of things here. And some of you have given me a short list of topics that you want me to cover, which is beautiful. I'm going to hold off until next week when we're back, hopefully all live together, to cover what was next requested on the list. And today, I want to talk to you about all of the Q&A I've been answering for the last 2 weeks, because I have been a student of my own teaching, which is that we get to listen. We get to actually listen to what's being spoken when we're working with clients, and we get to listen in a little deeper into what's under the question, right? So, or what's under the sharing. So for those of you who are using SOAP notes when you work with clients, you know that everything that they share with you, hopefully you know this, that everything that they share with you in their initial intake is relevant, right? Like a client comes to you, they've been on the planet for a few decades, and of all the things they could possibly tell you about their body, they tell you this much information. So that much information is like really important, and none of it's superfluous. And so you got to listen, even if it doesn't quite seem to sort of connect the dots right away. There's a reason they mentioned it. There's actually a reason their subconscious mentioned it. So I've talked about that a lot, about SOAP charting. And so our skill around SOAP charting and taking in solid intakes is to listen. So I've also been listening to all of you in the last 2 weeks or so, since our 5-hour boot camp in the middle of June, which was so epic. And I'm so grateful for all of you that were there. 5 hours went by like that. Some of you sent me notes afterward and said, how did you keep going for 5 hours? Well, thank you for acknowledging that. And it's because of how you guys showed up, because you guys were leaning in and hungry for the information and asking really potent questions. And so it did fly by. And I was happy to serve in that way. I'm always happy to serve. And so since then, a lot of you have been on my calendar, and I've been honored to have one-on-one time with so many of you, which is delicious for me. And there've been several questions that keep repeating themselves, even though we're in one-on-ones. And I thought, okay, well, this is great. This is where I get to fill in the gap and make sure that all of this information is more widely known, so that you don't have to schedule a one-on-one to necessarily have it, but always schedule with me if it's what serves you, because I love connecting with you guys. That said, that's what I'm going to cover today. I'm going to do a little FAQ, and I'm going to do a little A's to the Q's, if you will, on things that have come up in specifically the last 2 weeks around mastery. So I like to lovingly say that I surround myself with really excellent practitioners, and my purpose for them is to turn them into experts and to like really up their game, so that by the time I'm done with them after a year of rigorous, intensive training, you guys are all specialists, and like top echelon specialists. And so understandably, there's been some questions like, well, what is that process exactly? And so that's what a lot of these one-on-ones I've experienced with you guys this last week have been about. And so there's been a couple themes, if you will, and I want to talk to you about them. So first off, some of you got on my calendar and they're like, I know you do training, but like, what is it? And so fair question, right? Fair question. And I'm a lot like you guys. Like I'd rather connect with a human and talk and like interchange and read body language and hear inflections and things like that. And we all always look up everything on the internet these days. So it's on the internet, like our mastery program my mastery program is listed on our website. And sometimes reading is a little bit dry. So here's the jam, shorthand version. Mastery practitioner program is a program. It's not a course, but it's filled with lots of courses. The Mastery Practitioner Training Program is a 12-month track that I run for movement and manual practitioners. And it is designed to support you, movement and manual practitioners, in getting to the genesis of pain and dysfunction and remedying it so that you can go back to doing the thing that you used to do with your clients before you had this method. So this method is what I developed clinically for the same reasons, because I was doing manual work. I'm a licensed massage therapist. I also am an integrated bodywork therapist, and I'm a movement practitioner, yoga, kettlebells, etc. So depending on what my clients were coming for, whether it was movement or manual work, I was here for it, absolutely. And most of them come with some limitations of some sort, some restrictions, some pain points, some things they can't do, or some things that they, are sort of navigating pain and discomfort. And so instead of just getting to the massage or getting to the yoga or getting to the movement or manual or whatever we were up to, there needed to be this remedy. And I, as much training as I had, didn't have the answer to that remedy. So I developed it. And so in this 12-month track, I teach you how I remedy pain and dysfunction 100% of the time, all bodies included. And that's why it's a method and not a technique, because a method is for everybody, a technique is for certain instances. So that's one of the distinctions there as well. And so that's the shorthand of what is it. So already established movement and manual practitioners are welcome to come into the program. There is an application process. It's got to be the right program for you. It's not just anybody can come. It's got to be right for you. It's got to be right for me. And when it is, it's awesome. And then we move through the program together for a year. And before that year is up, you're moving and working differently with your clients and creating different results for them. And then by the end of it, of course, you're a niche expert. So that's what the program is. If that lights you up, great. I will say, so some questions have been like, well, but what is the thing? Like, what's the method? Fair question. My background is in orthopedics. So I have an orthopedic-based background, and that means that I was working efficiently with very limited time to support folks that had injuries, like real injuries, documented injuries, like workers' compensation, liability cases, all the things. And so how do we restore their function and get them out of pain quickly and just zero in on that and not squirrel on all the other possibilities that are available for folks when they're moving and getting body work. So if you like orthopedic work, if you like zeroing in on an issue, if you like eradicating that issue and restoring optimal function, optimal movement, eliminating pain permanently, not just for the week before they schedule again next week. If you really like a project and then finishing the project and then they don't come back again with that same issue, then this is the type of work that I do. Nothing wrong, by the way, with regular repeat weekly clients. I think everybody should have movement and manual work regularly. And that's what your established licensing and certification is about. This method is for this other piece, like the piece that's in the way of enjoying that as a lifestyle. Okay, so who's it for? Some practitioners have mistakenly heard me talk about yoga teachers, and as massage therapists, they think they're not included. That's not true. All manual and movement practices can utilize this method effectively to get back to whatever movement and manual practices they're doing. Okay, so it's for all practitioners who are interested and qualified for the program. I did also have a few questions. Do you take beginners? And so this is what I'll say to that. It would be better for you if you were already working as a practitioner, meaning that you're not definitely not still in school. I wouldn't say I made the mistake, but I had that experience once because I believed in this practitioner and they were amazing and the program was amazing and it was harder for them. So like I said at the beginning, the program's got to be right for you. And it's got to be right for me to be able to know I can support you. Because if I can't deliver on my promise for you, then that doesn't work. And I think it's a little harder. I think it's harder when you're still in training. unless you are in training for a secondary. So like say, for example, you're a massage therapist, been working as a massage therapist for a while, and now you're, in training to be a personal trainer to add some movement into your work. But you're not done with the personal training yet. That doesn't mean that you're new. It means that you're adding into already being an established practitioner. So that's really the key. You're already established as a practitioner. You've already worked with people and their bodies. Okay. And that can be one-on-one, that can be group training. It can be, whatever it is that you're currently doing. I will say that you don't have to have a one-on-one practice, meaning you can be a group movement practitioner, and you want to have a part of your work to be one-on-one. So you could already have a one-on-one business, like massage therapists, it's all one-on-one mostly. Yogis typically are group, and movement people are typically group training, but not all of them. And once you have this method, you're going to want to do that with folks one-on-one. You can still do some group work. And the real value is working one-on-one for a short period of time and then converting them over into groups. So I don't want to get too far down the rabbit hole on that one. But here's what I'll say. If you're not interested in working one-on-one with people, there is still value for you here in the program, and it might not be the right program for you, because the real niche expert status, if you will, or the niche expert delivery is a better term, really comes from what you can create for someone one-on-one. And is there still room to add it to your group work? Yes, of course. And so if this isn't making any sense to you, then let's just get on my calendar and let me explain it a little bit further. I don't want to get too far down the minutia. Sometimes it's just the way I'm delivering it, and sometimes it's an understanding because you guys already know how you work, and you know what what your work environment is like. And if I can ask you questions about what that is, I can let you know if the method would fit into that. That would actually be a quicker way to answer that question. So just know that if you are like, I don't want to be a practitioner, I don't want to work with clients one-on-one or in group, then no, this mastery program is not for you. There's other anatomy training that I could support you with for sure. But if you're not interested in being a clinical practitioner or a practitioner that works with people and their bodies, then this probably isn't going to be what you want. Okay. So a little bit of the mechanics. What's the time commitment? It's a year-long program. And what that irons out to be every week of that year-long track is we meet live. So you and I and the rest of the people in your pod meet live once a week for 2 hours of training. And it's not farmed out. I'm actually there with you. It's live, and you really want to be there live for 2 hours a week. And everybody that starts the program in July, it starts July every year, all the way through to the end of June the following year. All the practitioners who start in July meet in that group training, we call it, every week. So it's all of you plus me, and we're working it for those 2 hours. And in those 2 hours live, that's really the time when I'm sharing the method with you, where I'm teaching you the methodology that I use, that I developed and that I use clinically, and that generates results. And this is how it generates results. And this is what you need to know about that. We also do professional development, which I know a lot of you have said that you're really excited about, and I'm excited that you're excited. I'll tell you that the program overall is developed to be something that I would have loved to have myself. Like, wouldn't that have been great if I could have had what I teach in 12 months instead of 20 years? So it's definitely a fast pass to career development. So in that, it matters to me that you're career professionals, that you're making a good living. You know, the starving artists, the under-earning practitioner days are over. And it really doesn't fit to be an industry expert and then not make a living, right? There's like this, I mean, when we talk about imposter syndrome and feeling like a fraud and all of that, you can be super knowledgeable and trained and working, you know, generously from your heart. And if you're not making a living, you're still in survival mode, which makes you kind of wonder about your own authority. So it matters to me that we grow into our bigness and graduate with a booming practice and a booming bank account, and not in a way of being selfish or greedy, but being experts. So that's all what we do live when we meet for 2 hours a week. In addition, in that 12-month track, we also meet for what's called labs. So a few times during the year, I will teach you a certain skill set that I then need to watch you do on clients. And the clients come to your space. This is all over the internet now. Thanks to the last few years, we've converted this program to be an online experience. So you don't have to travel to meet me. There's a lot of savings and expenses for that. But a few times during the 12-month track, you will have a person in your space with you, dressed, fully clothed, and I will teach you some things in their presence. You will do those things on that person. They will have an amazing experience from the things that you do with them, and your whole pod is there together. So we call those labs, and there's about half a dozen of them, sometimes more, during the program. You'll know exactly when they're coming. You'll be fully prepared. It's awesome for your implementation, and it's also awesome for your clients to see what you're up to, because they're used to you. They've been working with you for a while now, and then you come and do this other thing, and they have immediate results during the lab, and then now they're converting into this other work that you do, and your business is already starting to bloom 4 months into the training program, which I love watching. I love watching that happen for practitioners. Another piece of the training program is that 4 times during the year, you and I meet one-on-one. It's just you and me. We meet live on a time that works for both of us. And we set up your vision for what you want for your practice, what you want your career to look like a year from the starting date of the program. I take that very personally, and I hold that vision for you, and I make sure that you are on track for that the whole year. I don't just let you sort of sabotage yourself or casually get off track or anything like that. I remember what you said. You remember that I remember. And I'm like, hey, remember you said you wanted this thing? Let's keep creating that, especially when it gets a little sticky or challenging for you, as all rigorous programs will find, they should feel challenging. Otherwise, what are you learning? So especially during the challenging moments, I'm still holding that vision for you and guiding you towards the fastest, most efficient way to get there. And then during the year, in the other one-on-one intensives that you and I have, we make sure that you're up to speed on all of the information. So it's not a live test, if you will, but it's a way to check your proficiency. Like, are you getting it? Is it making sense to you? Do you have questions? How can I help you learn it in a way that really resonates with you? And are there any gaps that we get to review for you? Because naturally, we don't always remember everything the first time. And I really like that, because not only are we designed for review, our brain needs that repetition and review, but also it's the best way to get the most value out of the program, so that you're not just, sort of spinning through the material and then telling yourself you're going to go back and review it. I don't know about you, but when I was in college, I did a lot of that. Some semesters I was a little loaded with credit hours, and I just thought, let me just get through the test and let me get the grade, and then I'll go back and review. I never did that. I never did the review. Most of us don't. So this review, if you will, is designed in the program, so that while the program can go fast, a year isn't that long if you think about it. Rather than missing a big chunk of it and then just graduating at the end, I want to make sure that you get all of it along the way. So there's really a collaboration and a partnership for you designed into the program. And then the one last piece of the training is that you also have 200 hours of anatomy that you watch at your own time. There's a schedule of when I want you to consume each of those anatomy courses, because I want you to have this much foundational anatomy to apply it to the method to then go work on your clients. And so I know the order of that, and I lay out that schedule for you. And you can take those recorded hours any time of day. So if your day off is Sunday afternoon and I'm not there with you, you can still consume your anatomy. And the anatomy is everything from foundational anatomy and physiology as it applies to being a practitioner, to applied functional anatomy, and then even therapeutic anatomy. So all of that is built into the program. Some of you have said, well, can I just take that anatomy on its own? Absolutely. You can, please take the anatomy, be steeped in anatomy. What it won't teach you to take the pre-recorded anatomy is how to utilize the method and how to transform your practice as a practitioner. So that's what we do live together. The reason why I have all of that anatomy was, again, the program improves as I go. I've pretty much got it down to a good clip here, but the very first time I ran the program, I also had movement and manual practitioners come into the program, and we all have anatomy in our training somewhere along the line. And I made the mistake of assuming that the anatomy that the practitioners came with was the same amount of anatomy that I had that they would need to get the method to work for them. And so when I saw that there was a gap there, I was like, oh no, we get to not have any gaps. Again, everybody gets to be set up for success. So I created the anatomy. This is the anatomy that I used to create the method, to implement the method. I want you to have the anatomy to be able to implement the method, learn the method, and then implement it. So all of that's also included. Okay, so I wrote down a couple of these. So yes, the A&P is covered for sure. Okay, great. So I also had, so what are the credentials? Like after I'm done with this program, what do I get for it? And I laugh, right? Like it's funny. I find the question really funny, but I also get the sincerity around the question. So here's the jam. First thing is, by the end of the training, at the end of the training, when you have graduated, you will be in possession of a trademarked method. So you'll have rights to the license. So the trademark is licensed to practitioners who are trained in this method. Why does that matter? Some of us don't even know what that means, because I didn't know what that meant when I was trademarking this thing. What does that mean? Well, when it's trademarked, it means that it's proven to be unique, right? The Library of Congress holds this trademark. And in order to get in there, you've got to prove that you have something different that doesn't exist. So that's kind of cool and like braggadocious and exciting. So at the end of the training, you have rights to that trademark because you are licensed in this method. I'm like, the trademark is licensed. You have access to the license for that trademark. You're trained in it. Sounds a little technical, and sometimes I still fumble on the legal way of explaining it. But the point is that it's different. So even if you didn't have credentials, just knowing that you are in possession, you've trained, and you are in possession for the rights to use this thing that no other practitioners outside of this community have, that's kind of badassery, right? And so I just want to like pause there and say, like, what would that feel like if you were in possession of something really unique? Would you find value in that? Do you think your clients would find value in the fact that they found the specialist in their area, the only one that does this thing? Wouldn't that be like super awesome? And so what are the letters after your name? Great question. The letters after your name are TSM. So you're registered in the trademark of the SHOTS method. You're registered in the SHOTS method. And there's been some questions about registered versus certified. And I also used to think it was certified. I had great legal counsel to explain the difference to me. Certified means cookie cutter. Certified means you don't have to show proficiency. You just have to show up for the training. Registered means there's proficiency and there's commitment to proficiency, and that there's regular, I want to say upkeep, but that's not the word, updates to your knowledge about this knowledge that you have, that you're continuing to be invested in your own betterment of this credential that you hold. And that's why it's a registry versus a certification. Who wouldn't want that? I would totally want that. And I understand that there's some confusion about it. For those of you who are yogis, Yoga Alliance is a registry. Yoga Alliance doesn't do the training. Other practitioners do the training. And who's Yoga Alliance? I know there's discussions about you do want to be on the registry, you don't want to be on the registry. That's because it's third party. This is the authentic version of a registry where the training body holds the registry. And the training body credentials the practitioners in the registry and vouches for their proficiency. So it's, it's an upper echelon, if you will. Whether or not credentials are recognized is super interesting. So this doesn't apply to all of you, but some of you want to know, like, what are the letters after your name? And if there aren't letters that are recognizable, it's meaningless. I'm gonna appeal to you that is not true, right? So first of all, let's use the most common example, a medical doctor, MD. An MD after someone's name doesn't necessarily tell us what they do. MD doesn't tell us that they do open heart surgery or that they do knee replacements. Wildly different. I don't want to go to a cardiovascular MD if I need a knee replacement. The credentials would be confusing to me. They would be meaningless in a way for what I need. So really what we want is for our credentials to speak to what do I have to offer, and they don't always translate, right? So I'm just going to appeal to you, like, what are the letters after your name? What do they mean to the end user? If it's to what do they mean to us, then it doesn't really matter what the letters are because we know that we went through the training. So I have letters after my name, and sometimes people are like, wow, but that doesn't mean they know what they are. And so, or what it means, and nobody really cares. Truthfully, this is part of your professional development. What we want to be able to communicate is what's in it for them. What can we offer them? It's a benefits conversation. A credential is a feature. Nobody cares what your office hours are, or that's a feature. They don't really care what training you did. They care if you can resolve their problem. I mean, they want to know that you're trained, of course, and that will be implied by the way you present yourself. So there's a little bit around credentials, and whether or not you want to use credentials as a value add somewhere. I would say, rather than hide behind your credentials, be more courageous about your messaging. And so that is another big piece of our program, that again, we get to message to folks what's in it for them and how I know I have a solution for you. And that gets to be a conversation and a connection between two people, and no letters after your name are ever going to do the talking for you. Even if we knew that MDs, or let's say PTs, right? Physical therapy is a common known, but now, their credentials have also changed over the years, right? So just interesting how credentials kind of matter, and do they really? After you've earned the training and have implemented and generated results. The training is one thing, which tells you the credentials, but have you used your training to generate results is what people want to know. Not did you go to school, but what do you do with that schooling? That's not credentials, that's results. That's your clinical results. That's your how many times at bat. That's your statistics, right? Like that's what people really want to know. It's not the actual letters after your name. But even if we did know the letters after someone's name and what they meant, we don't necessarily always connect with those practitioners, right? So let's use MD, for example, again. 2 MDs, both do orthopedic surgery, both do knee replacements. The idea of like get a second opinion before you go in for surgery, we all, could relate to that idea. One surgeon might really be able to message to you and explain exactly what's going on and what they think and what their process is and how they've generated results before. And naturally, we would be drawn to that MD. And another MD who does the same type of surgery might not have great ability to communicate what they do. And they just might have a whole lot of letters after their name and be recognized by a board, but you don't really connect with them. So who do you choose? So again, it's just another example of like, does the credential really matter? Yes, of course the credential matter, but what you do with that credential is really what I'm up to for you. And that's part of the professional development that comes inside the training. So that's all on credentials for now. The last question that I'll answer for us today while we're here is, this sounds great, Gina, and I think I'm going to wait until next year. Totally cool. You absolutely get to come into the training program whenever you find it right for you. A couple of you have still asked if I would be open to running the program twice in a year. Lovingly, my answer is no. And the reason is because I've done that before, to try it out, to see how I could be in service. And it's a little bit harried. It's kind of like this group is starting here and that group's starting at a different time. And so like, what lesson am I in? And I don't want to move too fast for the people who started after. And it's just a much easier, fluid way of working to have the program be an annual program. So lovingly, the answer is it's a 1-year program, and we all get to work in an easier way. You get to have ease in the way that you move through the work that you do. It's problem solving orthopedic issues gets to be easy. It gets to be easy for you. It gets to be easy for your clients. There's no more, being exhausted by the end of the workday or sweating over the brow during the hour or fretting over your results. It gets to be easy. So I get to practice what I preach, and it's once a year. So we start in July and we wrap up the following June. If July in any particular year is not the time for you, no problem. I trust you to figure that out. And the question that I would ask myself if I was thinking about waiting is, what am I doing in the meantime? Well, how am I spending the year in the meantime? Because if you're thinking that, yes, this is absolutely where you want to go, or you at least want to explore it further to decide for sure, awesome. Connect with me, get on my calendar. We'll absolutely talk that out. And if you're like, yes, I know this exactly with the training I want to have next, but it's not now, it's next year, then my question for you is, lovingly, as a practitioner, what are you creating in the next year? So this time next year, right now we're in July of this year, this time next year, how will you have moved the needle for yourself and your clients? How many clients will you see in the next year that you will or won't be able to support by resolving their pain, their orthopedic musculoskeletal pain? How many of those will you still be wishing you had more skill set for? How much time is going to go by before you're working in the ideal environment for you? And then do you want to start creating that a year from now? Or a year from now, do you want to have already established that? Because again, we don't start once we graduate, we start creating this during the program. So like I said, 4 months in, you're already doing different work and your clients are very aware of that. And that matters to me, so that by the time you graduate next year, your practice does not look the same. What you're doing, how you're earning money, the schedule that you're keeping does not look the same. And I'm going to wrap with a few examples of that. There's some graduates. I'm so excited. We just graduated a group last week and we're starting a new group this week. And this is like my favorite week. It's like the liminal space of awesomeness for me every year, which I love. And so some of our graduates went from, movement practitioners who worked only in group settings all weekend long into the evenings, not making enough money and feeling burnt out. That practitioner just switched to their own home office, no longer works weekends. Literally this weekend is on a vacation with their family, and gave themselves not one, but 2 raises during the year, so that now they're actually making a realistic living instead of being burnt out and no extra time and no extra money. Literally transitioned that before graduation. Super excited. There's other movement practitioners who are used to working really hard, almost feeling like arthritis in their thumbs, hunched over a table all day, and getting results for their clients to only come back, 4 to 7 days after their session to say, I felt great for about 4 days. And then they're back the next week and rinse and repeat. Nothing wrong with weekly clients, like I said. However, for those of us who are really purposeful in wanting to generate results for folks, that gets a little redundant. And we start to doubt our ability to fully resolve their pain. And we wonder if they're doubting our ability to fully resolve their pain. And so that's like a treacherous, like walking on eggshells way of working. So I have a gaggle of massage therapists and manual practitioners who have converted their clients now over to the SHOTS method way of working. They have 2 different types of sessions. One of them alleviates their pain. The other one is for lifestyle and relaxation and all the beautiful things that massage offers. And the practitioners are working less and making more, and their clients are super happy. So, and there's a whole bunch of other, case studies of practitioners, if you will, of success stories. So if this is of interest to you, please reach out and let me share more details with you as it applies to you and whether this is the right fit for you. And if you would like to talk to some other graduates, I can absolutely get you in contact with them as well. Sometimes it's better to hear from their perspective what it was like going through the program from their perspective and how it was for them to switch over their practice. I had to do the same thing. I worked, like I said, in an orthopedic setting to start. And then when I went out on my own, I thought I had to, interesting mind space then, do full body massage to make a living. So we shouldn't feel like we have to do anything to make a living. We should do what we love and earn a living doing what we love. Like that's what we're promised. That's what we should be doing. And I remember moving from full body massage and then transitioning over to this other work and what that was like to transition over. So I remember what it's like. And if you want a more current version of what that's like, not only for yoga and movement practices, but also manual practices, you're welcome to talk to some of my community, some of my registered grads. I've also had great success in teaching group movement and finding a way to message to them about their restrictions or limitations or whatever was going on, create private one-on-one, and then filter those same students back into a group setting. So there's lots of different ways to create that for you. And there's as many different ways as there are practitioners in our community. So if that would support you, please reach out and let me know. Otherwise, I'm wishing you all so much success. We are literally halfway through the year. So whatever you've created for yourself so far in this year, we're in 2023 right now. I hope that you look back and reflect on all of the amazingness and generosity and service and heart-centered work that you've delivered to your community so far. And I also wish for you to take a moment and pause and reflect and get really brave about what you envision as possible for you going forward, and dream big about that. Dream outside the current box that you're living in. Don't dream into what you've already experienced. Dream outside of that box, because all is possible. There's endless possibility. The only box that exists is the one that we've carved out and put ourselves in. So if you were to dream outside the box, how big would your vision be? And then take a minute to experience what it would feel like to be living that vision, even as fantastical as it might sound in the moment. Pause on what it would feel like when that was your reality, and then put action steps together to create that reality. So typically what we do is, I don't know how, so therefore I can't have, and that's backwards. Think about the feeling. Feel the feeling first. Experience what it would feel like to be living and working your dream experience. And then the how comes to you. Actually, we don't have to come up with the how, because all we're going to come up with, if we try to figure out how, our brain only has what it already has in it. So we're going to be recreating from past information. You got to be willing to leap into the unknown and then allow the universe to show it to you too. Like those pieces are really, really important, like necessary. We live in an attraction-based universe. We don't carve out, we attract and then build from there. So I offer that to you in our halfway mark of the year, that you give yourself an opportunity to celebrate what you've accomplished, pause where you are, dream really big, and then create going forward. Like, what do you want the next half of your year to look like? What do you want the next half of your year to look like? Anything that you want, you can have. I promise you that. Okay, my loves, enjoy the rest of your celebration if you're out celebrating. And thank you for all that you contribute to the community. I do love the industry that we're in. I believe that we are like the last of the living soldiers. We cannot be replaced by computers. We're actually really needed. So there's huge value there already inherent in who we are and what we do. So all that to say, I appreciate you. I appreciate the work that you do. Continue to do great work in the world.